It's the official start of the Atlantic hurricane season, and already there have been two named systems in the form of tropical storms Albert and Bertha. Thankfully, both storms have weakened and have not caused any major damage. It seems to lend credence to predictions that this hurricane season will be an active one. Are you prepared? For tips, visit the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management's website or continue to watch Jamaica Magazine during the month of June and beyond. Our program continues with a word of advice. Stay with us.
To properly carry out a hand rub, apply a palmful of the product in your cupped hand, covering all surfaces. Rub your hands palm to palm. Rub your right palm over the back of your left hand with interlaced fingers and vice versa. Rub your hands palm to palm with fingers interlaced. Rub the back of your fingers to opposing palms with fingers interlocked. Rotationally rub backwards and forwards the clasped fingers of your right hand in your left palm and vice versa. Once your hands are dry, they are now safe.
Here's some information you can use.
Like most countries globally, our economy has suffered a severe setback as a result of the pandemic. The Planning Institute of Jamaica recently reported a large decline of 1.7% in real GDP for quarter ended March 2020, and has projected a decline of 12 to 14% for the April to June quarter and 4 to 6% for the fiscal year 2020-21 overall. This represents the most significant economic decline we have suffered in over 4 decades. It is therefore an imperative that we get our economy back to full productive capacity as quickly as possible. As of tomorrow, we are moving towards a broader opening of our economy. I cannot overemphasize, however, that we need to do this in a safe way. We must continue to protect lives while securing our livelihoods. During the period June 1 to June 14, all persons seeking to re-enter Jamaica will be subject to testing except for those entering from a country within the travel bubble as defined on our, which we will give the specific criteria of those countries we consider to be within our bubble. And for clarity, Jamaicans returning from countries not considered to be within our travel bubble would be required to be tested and quarantined at home with either phone or wristband geofencing. Now, as of June 15, non-Jamaican nationals will be allowed to enter Jamaica. Protocols regarding this have been established, and further details will be provided in due course. The day to next day, night to early morning curfews will continue in place starting 9 p.m. tonight to 5 a.m. tomorrow morning, day to day, until 5 a.m. on the morning of June 14th, 2020. In the night time of June 14th, the curfew will begin 10 p.m. through to 5 a.m. the following morning, day to day, until 5 a.m. on the morning of June 30th, 2020. Buses will continue to be allowed to carry only seated passengers. However, after much deliberation, we will be allowing motor cars with PPV licenses to carry the number of passengers allowed by the license. We recall before it was one less. Now we're allowing the PPV private passenger vehicles to carry what the license obtains. Now, this is subject to all windows being open, the air conditioning being off, and masks being worn by all persons in the vehicle. Under the Disaster Risk Management Act, we have put in place orders requiring persons 65 years of age or older to remain at home, only going out once per day for the necessities of life, to include obtaining food, medical supplies and services, conducting financial transactions and oversight of their business affairs, attending a place of worship, and importantly, exercise. Work from home orders, as I had given notice before, will be replaced with a new set of orders, which we are going to title them Work Smart, Work Safe orders. While we are encouraging persons to go back to their place of work, we acknowledge that this may not be practical or feasible in all cases. We must examine our situational realities and determine what is appropriate. During the period June 1 to 30, persons listed can make a request to work from home. So, for example, persons who are immunocompromised with underlying illnesses that are not currently under control by medical treatment and are therefore at risk, such persons will be required to present a medical certificate indicating that they are not at this time fit to work in an environment of general access which may expose them to increased risk during the pandemic. Persons who have no other suitable arrangements to care for their children at home if they were to go to work, they can negotiate with their employers, and we expect that their employers will make the necessary provisions and arrangements. Of course, this will be put in the orders. Persons who have no suitable arrangements for caring for an elderly or ailing family members, those persons we expect to be treated similarly and exemptions be provided. Gatherings in public places should not exceed 10 persons. There have been questions and requests for us to increase this number. I think we have to be very careful. We are examining that number, but it is important in limiting spread to control gatherings. So for any such gatherings of 10 or less, social distancing, that is observing the minimum 6 feet apart, must be maintained. Although social distancing and other protocols will apply, there will be exemptions for workplaces to facilitate the increased number of employees in the workplace and for companies holding their annual general meetings, AGMs. The wearing of masks, this will be extended to June 30th, 2020. Now, once you leave your home, you must wear a mask fitted to cover your nose and mouth. I have noticed a decrease in the number of persons wearing masks as I move about the country. I get many complaints, people sending me messages, people calling that our citizens are not wearing masks as much as they were 2 weeks ago. I've also observed that those who have masks are not necessarily wearing them correctly. As I said earlier, masks must cover nose and mouth. I know it is uncomfortable, and I have challenges too with it, but it is important to wear the mask and wear them properly. If you are caring for someone at home who has the virus or who has flu-like symptoms or respiratory symptoms, you must wear a mask even at home. And if you are going to seek medical attention, you must wear a mask on your way to and at the facility. Restrictions for infirmaries, hospitals, and nursing homes will be extended to June 30, 2020. The existing restrictions in relation to infirmaries will remain. This means no new patients will be admitted during the period and no visitors will be allowed. The existing restrictions in relation to hospitals and nursing homes will also remain. Each patient can only receive one visitor per day. Bars which do not operate under the village retail license, nightclubs, other places of amusement, public beaches, water and other attractions will remain closed for the period June 1 to 14th. Community bars may be open from 11 a.m. and will close 1 hour prior to the start of the nightly curfew, subject to certain conditions, and I repeat those conditions: no more than 5 persons inside the bar, including the bartender, no seats, stools or chairs, or tables inside the bar. All doors and windows must be open. Social distance and wearing of masks apply inside and outside for operators and patrons. No more than 2 persons at a table on the outside, no more than 10 persons. That is, the public gathering restriction applies outside. And as I had spent an extensive period of time in my presentation explaining why we have to keep the stay-at-home orders for those persons 65 and over, no person 65 or over to be at any bar. Please note, however, that if our numbers start to rise significantly, we will reimpose tighter restrictions. Our response to the pandemic will continue to be measured and proportionate, evidence-based, and situationally appropriate.
Watch as Prime Minister Andrew Holness shares the country's preparedness plans for the hurricane season during a recent meeting of the National Disaster Committee.
The forecasters are predicting a busy Atlantic hurricane season in 2020. The latest forecast from the National Hurricane, Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, predicts a likely range of 13 to 19 named storms, of which 6 to 10 could become hurricanes. The forecast includes 3 to 6 major hurricanes. And when we say major hurricanes, we mean Category 3 or higher. In fact, there have already been 2 named storms even before the season has officially begun. And we have seen Arthur and Bertha. So you can see that there is a strong likelihood for an above normal season in terms of hurricane and storm activity. All committees of the Council and parish disaster committees that were already activated and engaged in the COVID-19 response need to remain on high alert for the hurricane season. The OPM, that has national responsibility for disaster response, must ensure that adequate relief resources are in place to respond to any eventuality, and that arrangements are made to procure additional supplies. The government is moving to strengthen the capacities of the municipal corporations with adequate supplies. Shelter operations are of particular importance to the government, given the COVID measures of social distancing and the potential for the spread of the virus and the impact on the most vulnerable in our society. And when we say the most vulnerable, we're talking now about our older citizens and our citizens that have comorbidities, certain illnesses, particularly diabetes, hypertension, obesity. Municipal corporations and other response actors at the local level must accelerate the re-inspection of shelters. And I know Minister Mackenzie has been doing this and is spending quite a bit of time and effort to ensure that our shelters are up to date, including regular sanitization of the shelters and ensuring that they are properly equipped. I saw one video posted on social media of someone who had to use the shelter, commending the government and in particular you, Minister, for putting in place these provisions. But when it comes now to having hurricanes and having to deal with a pandemic at the same time, a pandemic such as COVID-19, then it complicates the issues. And so we have to be prepared, properly prepared for that. And I believe, Minister, that we have to do far more training and education of our shelter managers so that they understand how to cope with treating with persons coming in during a hurricane and at the same time maintaining the various orders and requirements under the pandemic. And this would include ensuring that these shelters have isolation areas, that if it became the case that you suspected or confirmed that someone who is homeless who would need to use the shelter is ill or has the COVID-19 and they are not able to be taken from that facility to a health facility, then at least you would have the provision locally within the facility for isolation. Protecting our most vulnerable remains the priority of the government for the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season, and the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development, with portfolio responsibility for disaster risk management, must continue to engage and ensure all necessary measures are taken. Special guidelines for shelter operations and emergency operations are being finalized by OPM and the Ministry of Health and Wellness and will be provided to all relevant entities. I am directing all entities to ensure their continued heightened readiness and preparedness actions following the guidance of the Ministry of Health and Wellness and OPM. The National Emergency Operations Center will continue its coordination role to facilitate a whole-of-government approach, including our private sector and NGO partners. Each parish emergency operations center, ministry and agency emergency operations center is directed to activate 24 hours in advance of a pending storm or hurricane and coordinate activities with the OPM or the National Emergency Operating Center. COVID-19 has tested our emergency systems and response readiness. The government applauds our frontline workers and emergency management personnel for their hard work and dedication under the most challenging circumstances. Like we have done for the pandemic, our strategy must be to anticipate, plan, and prepare for the threat and not to panic. Let me repeat that, and not to panic.
Thinking of starting a new career? Exploring an additional revenue stream? How about brushing up on existing skills? If any of those describe you, check out the offerings of the Management Institute for National Development, MIND.
Established in 1994 as the premier government training institution and later as an executive agency of the government, the Management Institute for National Development, MIND, stands tall as a crucial driver to the transformation and modernization of the public sector in Jamaica and the wider Caribbean.
MIND is really the outgrowth of a combination of public sector entities. And the individuals who were very crucial in the formation of MIND and bringing the various entities together were Dr. Garnet Brown and Dr. Carlton Davis.
MIND continues to add to national development by providing the Jamaican public sector with quality leadership development options, management training, supporting services, and outreach that sustain a culture of enterprise, efficiency, and responsiveness to the publics they serve.
Training and development is really the heart of public sector transformation, and so we saw the need to bring a more coordinated and structured approach to how it is that we facilitated learning and development across our public service and how we would want to see that supporting public sector transformation now and in the years ahead. And so, working with key stakeholders across the public service, we created the public sector learning framework. As a country, we want to be dynamic, and being dynamic means that we are going to have to keep in step with all the changes around us, and we need our public sector to be constantly developed so that we can transform as a public sector to be responsive to the needs of our citizens and to a developing economy and towards developed country status as well.
Registered with the University Council of Jamaica UCJ as a tertiary level institution, the programs and courses at MIND are offered at the certificate, diploma, associate of science degree, and postgraduate diploma levels. Yes! Over 50 individual offerings of programmed courses run throughout the year, utilizing the face-to-face and/or online delivery modality, in addition to those learning interventions that are facilitated in a customized format.
Here at MIND, we use a competency-based education and training philosophy. What that simply means is that our participants, having completed a program here at MIND, they're able to go back to their organizations immediately to transfer that learning. We have 3 product lines: scheduled programs, where we deliver over 50 programs and courses on an annual basis, and that is presented to the public through a schedule of learning products, and so they'll look to see what are the product offerings and they can access those programs and courses. However, you have some of our clients who want something done specific to them, so we design, develop, and deliver those programs under our customized brand. We also have our consultancy arm of the business, and with that we respond to terms of references that will be advertised by our public sector stakeholders in the newspaper or on the online portal, or some of them will contract us directly.
MIND is pleased to introduce its newest product line, MindReach, which is aimed at empowering unreached and underserved stakeholders. Through this medium, MIND is able to connect with its local communities through various developmental and transformational projects. The institution's partners include Caribbean Leadership Project CLP, Center for Creative Leadership CCL, National College for Educational Leadership NCL, Cave Hill School of Business and Management, Jamaica Civil Service Association JCSA, Strategic Human Resource Management Division in the Ministry of Finance and Public Service SHRMD, and ministries, departments, and agencies of government.
The time that I spent at Mind and the subjects that I was exposed to, I mean, they have tremendously helped me in carrying out my work. I am considered a good leader in the JSF, or an outstanding leader, and it is as a result of my exposure to this training at Mind.
Having joined the Jamaica Fire Brigade in 1995, having understanding of my job, I realized that I would want to be a supervisor very soon. So I went seeking a course that I could do just to elevate myself. I went over to the Mind office in Montego, and the greeting and the welcome from the staff there was very encouraging. They gave me an entire manual to go through to see what I needed to do. My decision to attend Mind was the best decision I could have made as a young public sector worker. I encourage every public sector worker to seek out Mind, look at their programs, select something. There is something there for you.
Mind has solidified its mark as a center for excellence and continues to facilitate capacity building for national development and the continued transformation of the Jamaican public sector.
I choose Mind.
I choose Mind, and so should you.
I feel so privileged to represent the Mind.
For more information, contact us at 876-927-17613. Visit our campuses in Kingston and Montego, or our website at www.mind.edu.jm.
Hurricanes can strike at any time. In the event of one, be prepared to act quickly. If a hurricane watch or warning has been issued, review your home disaster response plan. Map out likely routes to evacuate if your home is at risk, and confirm with relatives or friends you plan to stay with. Also, confirm the location of the nearest shelter. Check your emergency supplies and restock if necessary. Remember, disasters do happen, so be prepared.
That's all the time we have left for you on this station. Be sure to join us tomorrow when we'll put together another information-packed show just for you. Missed aspects of today's show? Go to jis.gov.jm or our YouTube channel to watch the magazine in full. Follow us on all the major social media platforms and download our mobile app to keep you up to date on all the major happenings in Jamaica land we love. Until next time, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Thank you for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.